Dustin, very good to see you. Today, we're going to talk about the retirement red zone and 5 money moves you should consider right now. So, the retirement red zone, generally known as the 5 years before and the 5 years after retirement, a critical time when investment decisions and market fluctuations can have a significant impact on your financial security. So, the first step is to define your budget and expenses, but only 40% of people have ever calculated what they'll need to live on in retirement.
No way to hit a target if you don't know what that target is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really critical, and the best way to define that budget and those expenses is to look at what you're spending today.
Hmm.
And then once you've taken a look at what you're spending today as a whole, break out of that and inventory from that any particular expenses that you expect to change in a big way. For
Right.
example, you might have principal and interest payments on a mortgage that are going to go away a number of years from now. You might be supporting young children or young adult children, and you expect those expenses to drop off once they're on their feet. Maybe in the early years of retirement, you're planning additional expenses for travel. So what you really want to create is a dynamic budget, not just a fixed monthly spending amount, a dynamic budget. And then you want to project that with inflation for the rest of your life.
Yeah, good point. All right, next, define your sources of guaranteed income.
So we want to take inventory of things like Social Security, pensions, annuity payments, and then we want to project those payments with conservative assumptions for cost of living adjustments. So once we've done that, what we're really left with is we're left with the difference between our guaranteed sources of income, adjusted for the COLA, and our anticipated spending adjusted for inflation. The difference is what we would call the retirement gap.
Right, exactly. And that brings us to step number 3. So when you know what's going out and what's coming in, you help clients build an income plan to bridge the gap.
Right. So that's where we take a look at the portfolio and come up with a plan to create some income from that portfolio. And one of the most critical things, especially in that retirement red zone, 5 years prior, 5 years into retirement, one of the most critical things is going to be typically removing some volatility from the portfolio.
Right.
If we've got way too much volatility in the portfolio, like a lot of people might have in earlier working years, just fine. But in that retirement red zone, if we got too much volatility, there's no way to create predictable retirement income or predictable outcomes. So it's a good time to consider things like principal protecting some of the money, maybe creating some additional guaranteed income with things like annuities, reducing investment risk with things like hedged equity, or other strategies to remove volatility from that portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to stress test that plan in that portfolio. That's
Right.
something a good advisor can help with, so that you make sure that that plan will hold up in good times and in bad.
Really good point. And just to circle back to the guaranteed income, one of the most important decisions you'll make in retirement, when to claim Social Security. And Dustin, this is something you specialize in.
Sure, not just Social Security, but for those that have pensions, you want to optimize those benefits, not just for yourself, but for yourself and your spouse. So it's a good reason to get some professional guidance on when to claim those benefits, what options to select, what joint survivor benefits you want to elect. And then with regard to Social Security in particular, remember that since 1975, those Social Security benefits, the cost of living adjustment has been indexed to the Consumer Price Index. So it's one of the few truly inflation adjusted sources of guaranteed income you'll get in retirement. Generally, the more Social Security income you can build into that plan, the better equipped you're going to be to deal with rising prices.
Mm-hmm.
Yet another reason to get some good professional guidance on how to optimize those benefits and the optimal time to claim benefits for yourself and your spouse.
Mm-hmm. And then last, consider taxes, which will be one of your biggest expenses in retirement, but you can take action now to save thousands later.
Sure. So going back to Social Security real quick, remember that anywhere between 0 and 85% of your Social Security benefits will be subject to income taxes. But if you got tax deferred plans like IRAs and 401ks, 100% of those withdrawals will be subject to income taxes in retirement. So one of the ways you can be more efficient is optimizing those Social Security benefits. Again, great reason to get some professional guidance. The more Social Security income you can build into the plan, the more tax efficient you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure as well that you've got the right investments inside the right accounts. We don't have to worry about tax efficiency when it comes to IRAs, 401ks, Roth accounts with regard to the types of investments that we put in those accounts. But any taxable accounts, like let's say your regular brokerage accounts, you want to be cognizant of how those accounts are allocated and make sure that the investments you're holding in those accounts are tax efficient investments.
Mm-hmm. I'm really glad we got to talk this through. Of course, all these points are kind of interrelated and part of building out a financial plan that accounts for all of these variables. So, Dustin, if somebody wants to sit down with you to create that plan, what's the best way to reach you?
They can give me a call at 830-476-2505 or reach out on the website to book a free chat at longlivemymoney.com.
Great. Dustin, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.